Interview segment, we speak to Westlands Member of Parliament, Honourable Tim Wanyonyi, and of course he weighed in on a number of issues from the Finance Bill 2024 to leadership issues and of course accountability and transparency in this country. So take a look. I spoke to him earlier. Once again, Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for making time for us. Kenyans are asking, Nairobians are asking, where have you been?
I've been around and, you know, one, I'm a member of parliament.
Yes.
And I represent the people of Westlands. So if you are not seeing me around Nairobi, most likely you'll find me in Westlands. Okay. I'm in Westlands, but we have been involved in many activities that are going on around Nairobi and around the country because we are national leaders, and sometimes you'll find us all over the country. Recently, we have had these floods affecting people all over Nairobi and many other parts of the country. So we were all over the place trying to offer support and also look for support for these people who are affected. So I've been around.
Okay.
Yes.
It's good to know, at least we know you're working.
Yes.
And you know, it's a very interesting time to be a Kenyan. You know, on the other hand, we are seeing taxes being imposed on us. And on the other hand, we are seeing the government spend extravagantly. As a member of parliament and as a Kenyan, you know, what do you think is the state of the nation when it comes to issues, especially finance issues?
What is happening in this country is what we call fiscal discipline, because finance requires serious discipline. You can have a lot of money, but if you don't have discipline, you don't have a predictable regime on how you are supposed to use that money, you'll end up not having enough. And most of that, the funds you find, they're being used not on the top priorities that needs to be done. Yeah. Because there are things, for example, we have serious problem of bending bills in the government. And every time we are budgeting, we have supplementary budgets, we have main budgets, and over, we see we are pushing money to go and clear these bills, but they are still ballooning. So we just don't know where it is not working in the government. So we need people who understand how they can plan and project how the expenditure of the government is going to happen. Because if you are having an overblown expenditure vis-a-vis the revenue collection and even if you're getting other sources of making money, you'll never ever meet your requirement. Because if you don't have set targets, sometimes I think people come with different ideas, different philosophy, and you find that they are taking the country in the wrong direction.
So are you trying to say that the problem is governance?
The government, yeah, you know, governance is everything.
Yes.
If you get it right at the top, everything will work. So I think President, from where he sits, he has people working for him. And these people, I think he should now start doing an audit of his officers and know who is actually up to the job or who is not. I remember during President Moi, he had even to go and look for talent from outside the country, the Kenyans who are working abroad. There are some Kenyans who are working in the World Bank, who are working in other institutions. And he felt that he needed people to help him turn the country around because the country was just going into the wrong direction. And I know President Ruto can still do the same. There are Kenyans who can help him steer the country in the right direction.
We just have to pick the right people for the right position.
The right people for the right positions. And I always say we should never be afraid to bring in fresh ideas, because sometimes we want just to use the old type, those who they think that they have been there and maybe they understand, they know the system, they know. But there are others who can come in with different ideas and maybe better ideas.
It's interesting what you're saying, that we need fresh ideas. But it's gotten to a place where Kenyans feel like even my ideas wouldn't be listened. They won't implement. Case in point, right now, the Finance Bill 2024 that is going public participation, many Kenyans are saying, why should I go and participate when at the end of the day, the executive is going to bulldoze their way?
It is actually a constitutional requirement for public participation. So Kenyans, even if things are not working, don't be afraid, don't shy off, come out, express yourself. You will be on record that you spoke your mind and you gave your opinion. If they ignored your opinion, we know you spoke. And you know that what they are doing is not what you want. We know Kenyans are very, very vigilant about what is going on in the country. Because if I'm taxed and my money is not going to good use, of course I raise an alarm. I raise a red flag. And when we do that, sometimes a good leader will listen. A good leader will listen and make amendments. And bad leaders, sometimes they will ignore and they think that they're right. And that's sometimes where we're having problems because they assume things. I know, like the finance bill, the first one that came up last time, the overwhelmingly 80% of Kenyans said no.
That is in 2023, yes?
Yes. 80% of Kenyans said no. But the government said, nothing doing, we are going ahead with it. And it went, and you saw what happened. It went to court, the court threw it out, and they went under billed, and on like that. Now, afterwards, when they realized that they are not making headways, they had to bring in amendments to make amends in the bill so that it can be implemented. So sometimes I just wonder, because when you're in the office, you're actually working for the people of Kenya, not for yourself. So you should listen to the people, what they're saying.
So then, because, when we talk about the Finance Act 2023, because it was ascended, and just today we saw a media house publish that the state invested the housing levy billions in treasury bonds. So meaning the money that is being collected is not used in what it's supposed to use. What about the construction of the affordable housing?
Again, what I said, what are your priorities as a government? Because the Public Finance Act provides guidelines on how the public funds are supposed to be utilized. When money is appropriated for a particular item, it's supposed to go to that item. If you have to make any variation, then you must come back to Parliament and bring that amendment and say we are reallocating this money to a different program from what we had. Or if you are going to take it somewhere, then you must be very open so that let people know, because what we need is transparent and accountability. If that is not happening, then you'll find that public funds are being misused. Sometimes we wonder, because before the government start implementing a project, they will have done due diligence, they have done feasibility study, and they have done all that due diligence, and they know they have enough funds to do that project. But that project starts, and then all of a sudden, it stalls. Yeah. And they say there are no funds. Because somewhere, somebody who is sitting somewhere has reallocated that money to something else. And then this program is stuffed of the funds. So that is what we call indiscipline in fiscal management. So unless that one is done, we shall continue having that problem.
And how best can we do that and ensure, accountability and transparency in the country? Because Kenyans are suffering.
Yeah,
yes.
Let Kenyans just be vigilant, because you remember previously in the previous regimes, before Mike Kibaki, when Moi was there, the civil society was very, very active. And they are the ones who used to put the government to task on certain things. They will take them to court, they'll ask them questions and come up with all manner of information. Right now, the civil society, the government, the succeeding government have weakened the civil society so much. Now, the only voices that are there is the voice of the opposition. But you find the opposition also has been weakened because when this government came in power, they actually compromised the opposition. They took people who had been elected in the opposition and joined the government. So in essence, they have almost a super majority in the parliament that can push their bills wherever they want. Of course, our voices will be there as opposition, but our voices sometimes we put it out, but to them it doesn't matter. As long as they get it done their way, for them that is okay. But at the end of the day, it will come for somebody to account. And for me, I'll say we reach somewhere where we make people to account individually. Not just saying that because I got orders from whatever, but if you are a responsible officer sitting in a particular place, you are supposed to offer your advice that is governed by the law, the rule of law. If it's outside the law, then you'll carry the cross by yourself.
But then what does that say about the leaders that we elect as Kenyans? I mean, we give leaders power to go and be our mouthpiece. But most leaders that we see, they end up, serving their own self-interests. Perhaps are we the problem?
Those are the things that Kenyans must now look at. How many of your leaders can account for their actions? How many of them are actually doing the mandate that you gave them as people? Because the Constitution says the power of the people, you can exercise it directly or delegate it to elected leaders. And these elected leaders are members of parliament, members of county assemblies, and governors, the executive, the president, and all that. These are the people who are supreme, who are the sovereign, have delegated their interest to them so that they can manage their interest. But it comes to account when after every cycle of election, you will come around, and I think, sometimes I tend to think that sometimes Kenyans tend to forget very quickly that what is happening now, maybe in 2 years' line, they will not even remember. And we must always be ready to ask, how did you use our taxes? How do you use the money that you collected for housing? How many houses have you put up? Initially the government promised that they'll be putting up about 250,000 houses in every year. But I saw the National Housing Corporation said they can only manage maybe 2,500. Yeah. That's almost, it's too small. And if that kind of money they are looking for to put up the kind of houses they are doing, we also want to see the audit of those houses. How much have they done? How much money have they collected? How much has it been applied? Recently, we saw the auditor coming up with a report that money has been lost from the e-citizen. And this is the same e-citizen that they were trying to force the schools to pay school fees through the same platform. Now, if the money has disappeared from there, who is accountable? Who is accountable for that? So we just need to do that, because when we just hear money like 30 billion, that's not small money. And we just speak about it like it's just a small change, and all of a sudden, hush, and it disappears. Yeah. And as Kenyans, we must now look at our morals, our values, because our Constitution speaks about values. What is the value of the people in governance? Are they accounting to their actions? Are they listening to the voices of the people? Are they working under the regime of the rule of the law because they took oath to defend and protect the Constitution, and the Constitution provides certain things that must be done? So if we are leaving anything below that, then we are underperforming, and then we are doing the wrong things, and we must be held accountable at the end of the day.
Okay. I'll take you back to the Finance Act 2023. The government hoped that it will raise revenue collection. We are seeing a shortfall. If the proposed budget for the 2024-25 is anything to go by, we're equally seeing yesterday the president, who is in the United States, saying that Kenyans should stop complaining about taxes. Is a way of increasing revenue, is it the only way to do it? Is it only by taxes, or do we have other means that the government can employ?
I think if we become more innovative and maybe we look at different ways of doing things, we can even look at other jurisdictions. How have they done it? How they collect their revenue and how that revenue is applied, and how down have we gone to spread out the collection of the revenue? Because if this revenue, the way they're increasing taxes all over the place, you find those who are targeted are a very small fraction that are over and over the ones who are paying taxes, and maybe the bulk of the population is not involved. So if we look at it and see which are these areas that we can maximize on getting the taxes and get those taxes to good use, you find that when you want to tax anything and everything, people normally sometimes they can become clever, and you start avoiding to pay tax, or they evade, and by then the government will lose out, and they will not even collect half of that money. They will not even collect a quarter of that money. So for me is that they should have done something, a feasibility study, and understand where can they maximize on the taxes. When Kibaki came and said, tulipe ushuru tujitekemee, and he did not increase anything. He just applied what was there already in the law. And Kenyans came out in droves and went and paid taxes. And all of a sudden, Kibaki was having enough money to work with. But you know, when you are telling people you are taxing this, tomorrow you are introducing this tax, tomorrow you are introducing another tax, you are introducing another tax, they get tired, and there's fatigue also. And this fatigue is making Kenyans, some of them are even, some companies have closed up.
Yeah.
So if many companies are winding up, then the government will have very little space to collect that tax. So through tax alone, I don't think they'll be able to meet their target. Okay. They must find alternatives on how to raise revenue, not just through taxation and taxation and taxation. And the president must also be very sensitive to every tax they're introducing, how the weight on the shoulders of Kenyans. These very same Kenyans are the ones who are doing almost everything. And you know, when you go down there, you find that the poverty level is just another level. People are now struggling. They cannot even, and many companies are now winding up, and people have lost jobs. So in that, it shows that even taxes that are supposed to be paid by those companies have gone. And even companies that are doing very well, like Safaricom, you'll find that are also growing thin. They cannot be able to support the kind of taxes that are coming up.
And that's why we're seeing the rate of unemployment go high. But you know, you did mention the fact that we need to benchmark. And more often than not, we've seen Kenya be compared to Singapore, for example. But let's not forget that Singapore really emphasized on governance. It got rid of corruption, which is something that we're still struggling with here in the country. I mean, former President Uhuru Kenyatta did say, and they say that they will do a study to see if it's true. He did mention that 2 billion is almost lost every single day. As a Kenyan, if I'm doing the math, I'm thinking if we can get rid of corruption, it means we have enough funds to further our projects, further our country, and grow our economy. Why isn't the government looking at that? Because we've not seen much happen when it comes to corruption.
When you talk about corruption, you know, it's about our moral fabric. It's about our values. And it runs through our veins. And when you see people compromising things, something that is supposed to be done straight, you find somebody wants to use a different means of doing it or achieving it. And this, for me, it just still zeroes down on what do the top leadership say about it. Because if within your midst, within your lineup, there are people who have been, you know, mentioned severally, adversely or, you know, with facts, and they're still sitting in the offices. Even those who are working under them will start also doing the same things that they imagine this person has done. So, and sometimes when we speak about zero tolerance to corruption, we must live by it, and you must lead by example, and you must show people that as a leader, you are not tolerating any corrupt leader within your regime. So that when they see that a minister has been fired, a top official has been sent home because of ABCD, then it will come to others, they will deter others from involving themselves into that. Yeah. I remember Mike Baggy came up with several programs and said zero tolerance conduct and made officers to account for their actions. They started several things. And I remember even people who are touted to be corrupt, and the anti-corruption body send them notices that are going to be prosecuted. Some of them came quietly and surrendered the loot they had taken from the government and did all that. And with that, we saw things fizzled out. We saw Kenyans even arresting policemen on those who are taking bribes on the road. And everybody was on a high trying to account and being vigilant and being, you know, policing everything. So that when I see the president is not doing it, the ministers are not doing it, then it trickles down. Everybody will just realize that it is just now time to just to do the right thing. If I'm going for a service in a police station, I should not give a police officer anything to serve me. If I'm going to a government office, I should not give them anything to lure them to do for me anything. I should just go there and ask for the service and finish and go away. So if all of us can start thinking that these services, when somebody is sitting in that office, is being paid to serve you, that you have no right to go and give them extra money or lure them with anything for them to serve you, then all of us will be speaking from the same page and know that I will not give a bribe and you will not get a bribe.
So from where you sit then, who is the weak link in this particular war on corruption? I mean, if we can take the fake fertilizer scandal as an example, you know, there were talks that the committee was compromised. So who's the weak link? Is it executive, is it the judiciary, or is it the legislature?
You know, essentially, the people who are given mandate to spend our money is the executive. Yeah. They're given the mandate to collect revenue and spend that money. They're the ones who are supposed to account to the people. And so when we see, and I always say our laws are not the problem. The laws are very clear. If you look at procurement laws, if you look at Public Finance Act, if you look at our criminal laws, if you look at any legislation that we have, they are very clear. They address these things. And I've seen it within even our CDF funds. Within the CDF, we have got very strict regulations that funds come, and these funds are already earmarked for ABCD. There's money earmarked for bursaries that we are supposed to pay school fees. There's money that is earmarked for environment. There's money earmarked for sports, and it's fixed. You cannot divert it. So at the end of the day, when you go and spend that money, it will be strictly on that program. So that when the auditors come and asking you questions about how you spend the money, you will show and you'll provide evidence what you have done with the money. But when we see people who come and immediately you walk in that office, the first thing, they want to take you aside and give you a story and they're not showing you anything, so that at the end of the day you can't falsify the story and go away and give a story that is not right. So sometimes people who are sent to go and audit these firms or agencies of government, they end up being compromised by those same fellows, those people in those offices. So the weak link is the leadership. So if we have a leadership that are accountable, leadership that is strict, I think corruption will just disappear. And it's not rocket science. It is just somebody you just refuse to compromise. And the moment you compromise yourself as the leader of that agency, definitely everybody under you will get compromised.
Okay. I want us to now talk about the school feeding program. Of course, last week in the proposed budget, we saw it scrapped. Now we're hearing that it's coming back. It says a lot about how the government is operating and their concerns. From where you sit, do you think we're having, just making decisions for the sake of making decisions, aloof to what the citizen is going through?
Budget making process is a very complex thing. Yeah. And now the law provides that before even we come to the estimates that the government bring to Parliament, they go out to the people, they give them their projection, and then people give their views about what they expect. And one of the programs that we have dealt with is this school feeding program. And this feeding program is for those semi-arid areas where people have difficulties even to put food on the table. So this food that comes from the program, it serves to give the children in that area that lifeline to make sure these children at least have a meal before they go to school, and when they're in school, they also have a meal. And this is providing them, besides giving them nutrition, it is also making sure that these children still enrolled and remain in school. But when somebody just wakes up with a pen and with a stroke of a pen and strikes out that money without thinking the consequences, how those children are going to suffer, it is just something that I find it irresponsible, and whoever did that, I think he ignored all the views that has been expressed by the people on the ground, because those views of the people who are right down there are the views that we must bring to the table when we are doing that money. Sometimes I've seen that when people bring and say we need this much money to go and do a project in a place, without thinking, the people in Treasury, they just strike it out, or they just reduce that money to a very small amount that when it goes back there, it will only pay salaries and will not do anything else. So sometimes what we have done in the Parliament, because we listen to those who have come to provide those estimates of the budget, and then after that we come up with a report, we provide, and then they go to Treasury, and when they bring it back, you'll get shocked that somebody has just struck out something without even thinking why was it put there to begin with. And if it is there, it means it's serving a purpose. But when you just remove it, you must give over an explanation, and you must tell us why can you remove something else and not this one? Because school fitting program is a topmost priority for me in those areas, in those parts of the country. Yeah.
Okay, even as we finish with finance issues, let's talk about the finance bill one more time. As a leader, what would you amend?
That finance bill, for me, as a leader, if you ask me where I sit, I'll throw it out, the whole of it.
As it is?
As it is, because it is going to cause more pain. It's going to cause more trouble for those who are paying taxes, and on, because, you know, we pay taxes through many ways. Your salary is taxed. You go and buy anything is taxed. You are with the M-Pesa you are sending, you are taxed. Whoever is receiving the money is taxed. Everything you are doing is actually, you are paying taxes. But when they come up with something else, like you are double. You are paying double the taxes that you have. It's like they are taking almost everything from you. So at the end of the day, you remain there, there's nothing you can do. But when you look at it, people say that those who own cars now, they'll pay this much on the insurance. When you are paying that insurance, they're already collecting withholding tax. They're already collecting revenue for the government. Why would they introduce something else? And why can't they ask themselves, how were the previous governments, how are they functioning with these taxes than what they're introducing now? And whatever they're introducing, we are still having problems. We don't have enough cash flow. Their counties are crying. They have gone several months without, the government has not sent men to them. And yet we are now having more tax regimes that people, we just now feel that the government now should be having a lot of money around it, should disperse money very quickly to the account, to the counties, and also pay these pending bills and all like that. So for me, that finance bill, it's not going to serve any purpose. It should just be thrown out in totality.
Okay. I want us to now come back to issues of Nairobi County. There has been concern about how the city is being run. You were once an aspirant, you were aspiring to be governor of Nairobi. What would you do different? There's so much I know, but what would you do different?
The approach to leadership, when you are aspiring to be a leader, first of all, you must have a vision. You must have, you must have projected that when you sit in that office, there are certain things you are going to change them. There are certain things you are going to improve. You are going to bring in new ideas. You are going to change the way things are being done.
Like, if I may ask?
For example, if we have been saying that the city, Nairobi City County, is not able to collect cabbage, and you find that each regime that comes in still retains the same system that has been there, that has not been working. It means that you didn't have any idea on how you can do that and remove it. And when you go to other places, this cabbage, this solid waste, is actually big business. It's big business because those cities use it. They recycle it and generate other products. They use it to generate power. They use it in many other ways. And the people who are licensed to collect and clean the city, they are licensed and they know what they need. When they come they'll come and educate you how to do things, and also tell Kenyans, or whatever, the citizens of that area, that we are going to separate some of these things. When you are coming to dispose your waste, separate them. If you have metals, put them separately, electronics separately, and on like that, so that when they collect, they know how going to dispose it. And you'll find that those who are doing it, they are licensed and they are accountable to the authorities. But here you find that most of those people who are doing those things are the employees of either the employees or the owners or those who are managing the city. So they compromise themselves in such a way that these things are just collected and dumped in the same way, or they are never collected, but they come and be paid. So that kind of corruption that maybe I will have looked at it, that maybe we need to reinvent the wheel and find a way of how we can effectively collect tax. And I've seen that in most jurisdictions they use technology to deliver services, and it works, because they will just come and at your gate and put something that will inform whoever is coming to affect the cleanup or do something. He knows when he looks at that electronic gadget at your gate, he knows you have either paid revenue or you have not paid. If you have not paid, they will most likely either sanction you or they bypass your gate and then go to the next. And you find that one now, it becomes something that makes people become more responsible. And I remember many years back when Nairobi City Council, then, they used to have those pins that they used to deposit at people's houses. Yeah. And those who used to collect those things, they were regularly on particular days, they come and collect, and you'll see. And there was no, this waste spilled all over the place. Because I think people are more responsible, and they were paying money, and the money was being used properly. Because when you pay your taxes and you don't see it working for you, then people will actually retreat and they'll not pay.
So in the spirit of reinventing Nairobi, how would you deal with the cartels, for example?
These cartels are just people who are around you, and it just works because if you work in that office, definitely you'll find people there. And if you walk there and you let yourself be managed or be compromised by those people, then you lose it from the onset. But if you come there with what I had promised that I'm going to do for people in Nairobi, and I reach there and I want to implement it, and I'll implement with the letter, you'll find that those people, they call cartels, those are just costs. They will just fizzle out, because if you are not compromising yourself, then nobody will come to you and change the way you want to do things. If I say I want that street to be swept, it will be swept and I'll go there and check. But if you are ordering and you have no way of even supervising or finding somebody to account for that, then somebody will tell you, there are people who swept that street, they have swept it and they're going to come and pay it. And in essence, there's nobody sweeping that street, and people are being paid. Who is being paid? These are the people are calling cartels. They don't exist, and somebody is just circumventing the system and diverting the funds and on and like that. And you find you arriving there, they'll tell you, Mr. Governor, sisi hapa tunafanyanga kazi namna hii, and they show you that corrupt loopholes that exist. Collect revenue, divert it. Collect revenue, divert it. And mostly you are diverting directly to yourself, not to the system. So at the end of the day, the system is starved of funds. They cannot pay the right services, and those who are sitting in offices are growing fat and fatter, and then, yeah, that's the problem.
Come 2027, will you go back to, the bid becoming governor?
I am ready to serve the people of Nairobi when they give me a chance, and 2027, I am still coming back, because I believe I have something that I can offer the people of Nairobi. And I can, because I have been a member of parliament for Westlands, and the way I've worked in Westlands, I believe that same way that I've done things in Westlands, I can bring it at the city, and we can continue doing what we have done in Westlands because it has worked. You know what is working, you don't change it. You don't change it, you just improve on it and move forward.
Will ODM support your bid this time round?
I'll fight for my space.
If not, are you willing to go to a different party?
I don't want to jump the gun, but
Yes.
what I believe is that within ODM, I think I stand a very good chance of being the party candidate at the next election, because I know I have been the first to declare that I want to be the governor on the ODM party. I know others will come up, but I'm not afraid of that, because in a democracy, there's always competition, and when you compete, whoever wins will carry the party ticket. And I believe I'm the best of those who may come out and throw their hearts in.
Okay. And speaking of ODM, there are some supremacy wars, if I may call them that, with the exit of the Honorable Raila Odinga. So many people are coming to the fore saying, you know what, I want to lead this party. Perhaps maybe you can weigh in on that conversation between the young versus the old. Who do you think should pave the way for ODM?
What is happening is what we call succession wars.
Yes.
There are people who are already chosen and imagining that at the exit of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, there must be somebody who will step in issues. And everybody looking at, will it be me? Will he appoint me? Will he maybe look at me or something like that? But in the ODM party, we have party structures. We have leadership structure running from the top, the party leader. We have deputy party leaders. We have chairman of the national chairman, and we have other leaders and all the cadre all the way down. So if something is going to happen and the prime minister exceeds, and recently even he said he wants ODM to outlive him, which means the transition that he will initiate, he will put in place, will make sure that there's smooth transition. Somebody will rise within the ranks of ODM to take over from him. There are those who are jostling. You know, you can come, because if you are not already in the structure, I don't think you can just jump from nowhere and say now you want to take over the leadership of the party when the already structures are already known. And within those structures, I think, so far, the people now who stand the highest chance, that deputy party leaders. We have Governor Joho and we have Governor Oparanya. Those are the topmost now after Baba, who are ranking up there. So from there, then we come down like that, all the way downwards.
Okay. And, you know, speaking of ODM, the party primaries, that is party election, the grassroots party elections were postponed due to floods. Are you privy to when they're going to happen?
I think the election is already going on in different parts of the country, because we wanted to stagger it so that it's not a whole nation at the same time. Because that will be, one, it will be very expensive, and the party on its own may not have the capacity to manage a nationwide election at the same time. So we have stuck it up so that some regions are doing now, others will do it, but in Nairobi especially, the floods, because of the rains, we could not do anything because we could not plan and execute the whatever. Now the rains are fizzling out, I'm sure. Very soon we are going to have the party now call for election, because we have already put in place the the election board that will manage the election. And it will go on region by region. When it comes to Nairobi, it will be Nairobi, and then it goes to Mombasa or other region like that. Then finally, when we have done all the country, then we shall have our national delegates conference so that we can now elect the national leaders from that point.
Okay. Let's move on to the Nadco report. Of course, the High Court did stop the implementation of the Nadco report. We've seen opposition, coming forward and saying that the government is frustrating the implementation of that particular report. And the opposition has threatened to go back to the streets if need be. But do you think protests is the answer to some of our problems? Because it seems like every time there's a problem, people always go for the optional, let's go to the streets and protest. Is there another way maybe we can go as Kenyans?
Because sometimes that's what works, those protests. Because if you speak to people who feel like they're too big, they can't even, or they just dismiss you when you are expressing yourself. They think you are speaking for yourself. Yet our voice is the voice of the people of Kenya, those who are already oppressed, those who are already feeling the heat from the misgovernance. And we present, the issues we are presenting right now, those who are in government may not see them the way we are seeing them, because the shoe is on the other foot. And one day, they may be on the same position where we are, and we'll be on the other side. And they will see the same problems that we are expressing. For example, the issues of IEBC. We've said we must restructure IEBC because we can never come from every election and there is always a problem. There's always a complaint. Crickler told us that we should never let the judiciary or the courts to decide our election. Election should be decided at the ballot. So when we come from the ballot, it should be very clear who has won and who is the clear winner. But when we come from every election and we come to a dispute and we end up on the streets, then something is wrong. So we must fix IEBC, that when an election is done, the results are announced, everybody is certified that the winner is clearly known and the losers are known, without any issues and any problem. So if we don't fix that problem, it will still recur in another election. That's one thing that we are still insisting in. The other thing that was on that table also to discuss about the cost of living. And the cost of living was one of the agenda that was provided, and the government did not take it seriously, because I remember several times they refused to discuss that because they said that is their problem. And at the end of it, we said, well, that the government, we are not going to solve their problem, because if they want to insist that that is something that they can carry on with it, so be it. So, and then plus other things that now are in that report. And the report has become in Parliament, and I believe, even if the cause trying to hold it, that report, everything that depends on the goodwill of the political leadership. Yeah. If the president is ready to implement that report, and the opposition, then it will happen. Because what it contains there, most of those things are the things that were in PBI. If you look at the PBI, it had proposed for the post of a prime minister, official opposition, and on like that. They were supposed to be, they have also found themselves in this report. So we believe that some of those things in that report, even those who are sitting in government, they know they'll benefit the country. We should stop looking at that when they create the position of leader of opposition, it is earmarked for somebody. That is something that will be there in posterity, so that whoever will be leading the opposition will be the person sitting in that position, and they will create an office for that person. So I believe this report should be implemented so that we can move forward going to that, and in the next election, we must have an IEBC that is responsible to the people of Kenya, and the commission. Right now, we don't have a commission of IEBC. So, and there are several elections that are supposed to be done. There's a member of parliament who died. That election, the by-election has not been done. That constituency actually is being discriminated against because they are not having representation in parliament. So until we get that done, I think something is going amiss.
Okay. Finally, Mheshimiwa, what philosophy do you live by as a leader?
As a leader, I believe in one thing, that I am the servant of the people. I am a leader that is there to serve, not to be served. I must do something to change the quality of life of the people who have put me in the place where I am. I believe in transparency, that whatever I work and what I'm doing, I want it to be so open that anybody who comes and sees that we were building a classroom here, the classroom is there, and this is the much money we have spent, and this person was the contractor. So that when we deliver, we are delivering something that is seen, that is value for money, and anything like that. So for me, what I hold dearly in my heart is that we must always do the best in whatever you are doing. You must serve the people to the best of your ability. You must be a leader who listens more than you speak. And you must always be ready even to correct or to amend what you are doing if people are uncomfortable about it. Because sometimes we tend to think that what we are doing is what people want, but maybe that's not what people want. People want something else, but you want to do something else because you think that's the right thing. So I always profile that I'll listen, and I'll listen. Of course, I'll make a decision because that's what I'm elected to do. And so I believe that as a leader, you must serve and you must change the lives of people. The leader of Malaysia, you mentioned about that Mzee, he said when they came to power, they deliberately made a decision that they're not going to have people, the mediocre kind of people in the government. They want the best of the best to sit in government, and they must serve the people. And they had to do all those things, and they made sacrifices, huge sacrifices. And over, people complained until now they reached somewhere they saw that whatever they were putting in place was working. And when it was working, it changed things, and people started also now adopting what the leadership was doing, because it was working for them, and it brought a lot of changes, and it has made that country to develop. And you see, when people see things like that, in this country, we have had these guys of Karengata in Nairobi here. They refused to pay rates to city council because they said, we are paying rates, but you're not doing anything. There are no services. So if you are not serving us, why should we pay the rates? We can hire people to do that work ourselves directly. So city council went to court, but the court went with those people. But whatever they were doing, they were still collecting that revenue, and they were keeping it somewhere that the day city council will be ready to work for them, they'll release the money to them. And I believe that is the way to go. That if